Welcome, everybody, to the latest edition of the Bullpen with Adam the Bull, brought to you by BetRivers. Coming up on today's podcast, the Cleveland Guardians take 2 of 3 from the Texas Rangers. That's the good news. The bad news, is it unexpected, though? Nick Chubb is going to miss at least the first 4 games of the season. He's on the PUP list right now, and he will remain there. And if you start the season on the PUP list, you miss at least the first 4 games of the season. So Nick Chubb out. Plus, speaking of out, Mike Sando. Every year at this time, Mike Sando, good writer from The Athletic, releases his quarterback tiers. How does he get them? He interviews 50 GMs and coaches from around the league who anonymously grade all the quarterbacks on a tier system 1 through 4. Where did Deshaun Watson and Baker Mayfield end up? That's all coming up on today's edition of the Bullpen with Adam the Bull, brought to you by BetRivers.
You're watching Adam the Bull on the BetRivers Network.
Folks, if you're not using the BetRivers app, you're crazy. I don't know what's going on. We got everything for you there. Weekly lines, over-unders for the season on the NFL, college football, Major League Baseball still going on, tennis, and a whole lot more. Make sure you're using the BetRivers app. We'll get to the Guardians later. We begin with the breaking news of the day this Monday morning, and the news is that not a big surprise. It was pretty much expected, but you hear it officially, and it's I guess disappointing. I don't know if you could be disappointed. It just stinks. But the good news is it's not an injury, not a setback. Nick Chubb will remain on the PUP list to start the season, meaning the soonest we will see Nick Chubb on the field will be Week 5. In Week 5, the Browns take on Washington at Washington October the 6th. That's the soonest he's going to play. He will miss the first 4 games, Dallas at home, at Jacksonville, Giants at home, at Vegas. So even though I think most of us were expecting that, there was always the hope because you see the workout videos and you see him on the field a little bit, that there was a chance that Nick Chubb was going to be able to get there for the opener. But coming off the 2 knee surgeries that he had, we're still less than a year since the surgery, about 11 months. It was always going to make sense that he started the season a little late. Who knows? Maybe he's possibly ready and the team's being extra cautious. That is probably the smart move coming off what he's recovering from at his age, 28, not young for a running back. And there's no guarantee we're going to see Nick Chubb Week 5 in Washington. But around that time, the schedule starts getting much tougher, so it'll be interesting to see. You start the season, Dallas, but that's at home. Jacksonville's a decent team on the road. And then 3 straight games against, mediocre at best teams and probably worse than that in the Giants, Raiders, and Commanders. But after that, the season, you got Philly, Cincinnati, Baltimore, Week 6, 7, and 8. And hopefully, at the very least, you get Nick Chubb back for that trio of games, because those are certainly tough opponents, and those are games that, depending on what's going on at the time in the season, the Browns will either be an underdog or a very slight favorite in those games. The Bengals and Ravens games are here in Cleveland. And that's what you're hoping. I'm hoping he's back certainly by Week 5, but definitely by Week 6. And if he's not, he's not. But Week 5, as I said, October 6th, that's more than a month away. You got 6 weeks, 1 day shy of 6 weeks. Can Nick Chubb be ready in 6 weeks with where he is now? That sounds reasonable. And that's what's going to happen. So we knew it was coming, most likely. And now that it's here, as I said, there's probably some disappointment. There's probably some sadness. The good news that unlike last year where Nick Chubb started the season healthy and with the team, hopefully this year it'll be the reverse. He starts the season on the PUP list and not 100% healthy, but that by the time we get to the meat of the season, that Nick Chubb will be ready to go. I still think he could have a huge second half. I think that when Nick Chubb is back on the field, he'll still be very good, but it's going to take some time. And as quick a healer as he is, as incredible of a physical specimen as he is, as incredible of an athlete and a leader and a worker and every possible great thing you could say about him, he's still a human being, better than most, but he's still a human being. And so these injuries, when they're this serious and having multiple surgeries on a knee, take time. And Nick Chubb needs another 6 weeks. And so now he has, like I said, 1 day shy of 6 weeks to potentially get himself ready. And again, even for that October 6th game, the Browns are not going to rush him back. Even if you missed him for half the season, I'd rather have Nick Chubb for the final 9 games than rush him back and potentially have him hampered or maybe even re-injured. I think that's clearly a no-brainer. So obviously that's the breaking news of the day. What the Browns will do in his place will be a combination. We saw last year that Jerome Ford was the main back for the Browns. I think he'll continue to be the lead man in the backfield. You do have Deontay Foreman, who they signed as a free agent. We know he got injured early in training camp. He seems to be okay now. I think we'll see a combination of Jerome Ford and Deontay Foreman as the 2 main guys. Could Nyheim Hines be worked into the mix? Guy's been a good pass-catching back in his career. Special teams guy, return man. So far, we haven't seen him at all. Remember, he's coming off an injury, missed all of last season. So unsure of what his status is going to be. Pierre Strong has been a little banged up. I think for the first 4 weeks at least, you'll see a combo of Jerome Ford and Deontay Foreman. Now, how they will use them will be interesting, whether it'll be Foreman on essentially running downs and Ford on passing downs, or is it more, all right, here's 2 series for Ford, 1 for Foreman, 2 for Ford, 1 for Foreman. I don't know. I do think in the end, more often than not, Jerome Ford will be running back 1A and Deontay Foreman will be running back 1B. But with Nick Chubb starting the season on the PUP list, there's no doubt that like last season after Nick Chubb got hurt, there is going to be more needed from the passing game. Without Nick Chubb, no matter who you use, and obviously the Browns' depth at the running back position is better than it was last year, but Deontay Foreman and Jerome Ford, nice players, they're not Nick Chubb. And so more will be expected of the passing game. We're still not sure who's going to play left tackle when the season starts. It could be Jedrick Wills. It could be Jack Conklin. We haven't seen either of them on the field in games. In fact, we've seen almost nobody from the starting lineup on the offense on the field. Deshaun Watson did not play in the final preseason game Saturday. So the last time we saw Deshaun Watson is, coming off that injury. We haven't seen him in forever. And I'm not sure what to expect. We've talked about this quite a bit. I know there's some in our audience that think it's no big deal he didn't play in the preseason. Some would think it is a huge deal. I'm kind of in the middle. I don't think it's a huge deal that he didn't play in the preseason. I don't think it's nothing. I think he would have benefited from some reps, but ultimately, for whatever reason, they decided that he didn't need it. I would say to that, he better look good, and I don't want to hear any excuses. I will not listen to any excuses for Deshaun Watson if he doesn't play well. None. I'm not interested in it. I don't want to hear about rust anymore. I don't want to hear about talent around him. I don't want to hear about left tackle. I don't care. He's got to play well. Deshaun Watson was brought to Cleveland to be one of those special quarterbacks that makes everybody around him better, and that has not happened through 2 years. If Deshaun Watson is going to live up to the guy that I and many of you thought he was, he's got to start putting people on his back. He's got to put the team on his back. I want to see that. And I want to see it week 1. I don't care that he hasn't played. Let's go. You got your running back down. You may be down your left tackle. I need the superstar quarterback making $200 million to play great. I don't think that's an unfair expectation. You got talent around you. You got Amari Cooper. You got Jerry Jeudy. You got David Njoku. Your running backs are fine. They're adequate. Let's go. You'll be tested week 1 against the Cowboys. But it's up to Deshaun Watson. It really is. That's going to be the story all season long. Everything else is a secondary story. The lead is Deshaun Watson. Today, Mike Sando of The Athletic put out his quarterback tiers. I love this every year when it comes out. Mike Sando, now this is not his opinion. This is the opinion of 50 NFL coaches and executives. Every year he has 50 coaches and executives to rank the quarterbacks, every quarterback, tier 1 through tier 4. I don't think there's any tier 5s. I think there used to be, but I don't, if there is, there's nobody on the list. And here's how it ended up. Tier 1, there's only 3 guys. And remember, this is not the media picking this. These are coaches and executives around the league. Tier 1, Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, and Josh Allen. That's it. Tier 2, and that's in order, by the way. They do it in order because, for example, Patrick Mahomes got 50 Tier 1 votes, whereas Joe Burrow got 43 and 7 Tier 2s. And Josh Allen got, 39 Tier 1 votes, 10 Tier 2, and 1 Tier 3. That sounds crazy to me. But anyway. Tier 2, Lamar Jackson at 4, Matthew Stafford, Justin Herbert tied for 5, Aaron Rodgers at 7, C.J. Stroud 8, Dak Prescott 9, Jared Goff 10, Jalen Hurts 11, Brock Purdy 12, Kirk Cousins 13, and Jordan Love 14. Listen, I don't agree with the list completely. I'm not a believer in Aaron Rodgers anymore, but these are executives and coaches. I'm giving you their take. By the way, here's what it says. Tier 1 quarterbacks are described the following way. A Tier 1 quarterback can carry his team each week. The team wins because of him. He expertly handles pure passing situations. He has no real holes in his game. Tier 2. A Tier 2 quarterback can carry his team sometimes, but not as consistently. He can handle pure passing situations in doses and or possesses other dimensions that are special enough to elevate him above Tier 3. He has a hole or two in his game. Tier 3, here's what it says about Tier 3 quarterbacks. A Tier 3 quarterback is a legitimate starter, but needs a heavier running game and or defensive component to win. A lower volume drop-back passing offense fits him best. Tier 3, 15, Tua. 16, Trevor Lawrence. Yes, still no Deshaun Watson. 17, Kyler Murray. 18, Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson got 0 Tier 1 votes. He had been in Tier 1 before the Browns got him. He still got 13 Tier 2 votes, which is where he was last year. 35 Tier 3 votes, and 2 Tier 4 votes, which is not even really a starter. I'll read you what they say about what Mike Sando says with a bunch of quotes from coaches and executives about Deshaun Watson. This is the 4th consecutive year Watson has fallen in tiers voting, and the lowest he is ranked in 7 career appearances. He's a 3, and it's just a bad fit, an exec said. You have an RPO quarterback and a play-action offense. Not a good mix. The offense figures to evolve under new coordinator Ken Dorsey. Quote, he's a better pocket passer than given credit for, but he's always been slow going through his progressions because he knew if it broke down, people could not catch him, a defensive coach said. Quote, a lot of stuff he did with Houston, there was designed RPOs and movement plays for him. Maybe the processing is a tick slow. I can't explain it. It just feels like there's something missing. Watson has started 12 games in 2 seasons with the Browns after he sat out 2021 in Houston. He's coming off surgery on his throwing shoulder, and his elevated sack rate could work against sustained health. No matter how Watson plays or how frequently he plays, the Browns owe him $138 million over the next season, 3 seasons. Quote, I wonder if he loves it enough, an offensive coach said. Quote, he should be way better than this. Not good. Now, again, that's the opinion, it's legitimate opinions from coaches and executives around the league that ends up with Deshaun Watson being the 18th best quarterback in the league. If Deshaun Watson ended up being the 18th best quarterback in the league this year, that would be better than he's been the first 2 years here in Cleveland. But that's not what the Browns bargained for. And some people will try to convince you that's good enough if he's mid-tier. because the Browns are so good around him, that's enough. It's not enough. Deshaun Watson should be a tier 1 quarterback. That's what the Browns traded for. That's what he was in Houston. That's what he's not been here. As I drop my phone. By the way, Baker Mayfield 1 spot below Deshaun Watson. 19th. He actually got only 3 less tier 2 votes than Watson. He got 10, 39 in tier 3, and 1 in tier 4. So Baker 19th. I think that's where he belongs. That's where he is. The guys after him, Derek Carr and Geno Smith tied for 20. Russell Wilson 22. That's tier 3. Tier 4, Daniel Jones, Justin Fields, Gardner Minshew, Anthony Richardson, Will Levis, Bryce Young, Sam Darnold, and Jacoby Brissett. So of the 30 quarterbacks that are ranked, Deshaun Watson 18th, Baker Mayfield 19th. Being 1 spot ahead of Baker Mayfield is not where I expected, and I'm sure not what many of you expected to be. You could poo-poo this all you want. Deshaun Watson absolutely has a chance to get back to tier 1, something that Baker Mayfield is not going to do. But until he does it here, there's no denying that a lot of people in the league have lost faith in him. There's nobody that consider him a tier 1 quarterback anymore. Now, there were still 10 people in this thing, or 13 out of the 50, that still think he's a tier 2 quarterback. And if he does that, which is, get into the top dozen quarterbacks, yeah, that's good enough. That's good enough. I mean, again, I thought he'd be a tier 1 quarterback. At this point, I could live with a high-end tier 2. But he hasn't been anywhere close to that so far. Hopefully, this is the year that it all comes together. Finally, I wanted to talk about the Guardians. Took 2 out of 3 from the Rangers over the weekend. Nice job by Ben Lively Saturday. The Bats came alive with 4 home runs. John Kenzie, Noel hit homers Saturday and Sunday. Guardians won a tight game yesterday. Emmanuel Clase got the save in that one. Big 4-game series with the Royals, starting with a doubleheader today. Guardians have a 3-game lead on both the Royals and the Twins, with 32 games to go in the regular season in 35 days. The Twins, the Royals, and the Guardians all have exactly 32 games left on the season. All right, folks, thanks as always for joining me. Thanks to Max and Andrew for producing. Please hit the subscribe. Please hit the like. Subscribe both on YouTube and wherever you listen from an audio perspective. I'll be back on Wednesday. Where else but right here in the Bullpen with Adam the Bull, brought to you by BetRivers. See ya.